Hello.
Hello.
There you go. Yes, we're in.
You guys are in here way early.
Listen,
Yes.
we'd like to be on time if we can.
I'm not used to it. I won't mention any names. All I'm saying is that I'm not used to artists being in here 15 minutes early.
That's what we like to hear. We like to do things differently.
Well, it's great to finally meet you guys.
You too.
Dan, Nikos, Switch Disco, welcome to America's Dance 30 for the first time.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
And I got to be honest, I'm glad, Dan, that you pointed to Nikos because this is the first time we're meeting, so I didn't know which one was which.
Is it not obvious? I think it's pretty obvious who's the Greek one, right?
Hey, you can say that. I can't.
My accent as well, the looks.
Your English is that good, you know.
No, come on,
People
it's
can't
not.
even find people.
Well, I've got an accent, right? I mean, I hope I do.
Listen, I wouldn't appreciate you guys saying I look Canadian Jewish, which I am, so. So are you guys in Greece now, or are you?
Yes, we're actually in the office of the club that we've had a summer residency at the whole summer.
Stop! Really?
Yeah, no, we've literally just been out for dinner with the club owner and the management team here because we finished our residency last week. But Nikos is from the island, so we came back here for just like 3 or 4 days to just hang out for a bit and say our goodbyes. So yeah, we're literally in the office of the club that we've been at all summer.
So do you say to the manager, "Could you give us a second, please"?
Pretty much. Yeah.
We actually said shut the door and we'll let you know when we're done. Thank you very much.
That is how you guys own Greece. That's
People call Nikos the mayor of Zante.
The mayor of Zante is what they call me, yeah.
Well, congratulations on React with Ella Henderson and Robert Miles going #1. That is so amazing.
Thank you so much.
It's incredible. I mean, all the way out there, having a #1 is... we don't have words, really.
It's very surreal for us, to be honest.
Yeah.
Very surreal.
Now, is this Switch Disco's first #1?
I believe so. Yeah. It's only our second ever release.
Stop!
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that coming up because your guys' story is so interesting. And honestly, I can't wait to find out how this smash was born because, I mean, not only is Ella Henderson amazing, but Robert Miles' Children is one of my favorite songs of all time. So can't wait to find out how the song was made. But first, let's get to know Switch Disco a little better with Finky's firsts.
Okay. We've had a few bottles of wine at dinner, so...
I've had a shot of tequila as well, so...
Yeah.
It'll honestly probably make it better. So I love finding out the origin story of artists. And like you just mentioned, you know, this is only your second release, but Switch Disco was actually born 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, pretty much so. It was... The brand was initially set up just to put a name to kind of edits we were doing for our DJ sets. We didn't put a face to that brand, first of all. But yeah, 10 years ago.
10 years
long
ago,
time
yeah.
ago.
Wow, that is insane. So for anybody that thinks that making it happens overnight, there you go. You got to keep pumping that. Yeah. But was music the first thing you guys wanted to do when you were growing up, or was there something else?
Yeah, 100%. I started playing music when I was 13, and Dan pretty much after school, you went to college.
Yeah, like I was never someone, when I was at school, like I was never someone who was like, I'm going to be this when I'm older. Like I never had that kind of vision back then. But I finished school, I went to college, I started going to like house parties in the UK, and I saw people DJ for the first time, and it was the first time I was obsessed with something. And I was like, I need to know everything about what's happening in front of me. And from that point on, I went to music college and then went into the industry from there. But yeah, Nikos a lot earlier.
It happened a lot different for me because, as we just mentioned, I'm from here. I'm from this island, and this is a pretty much tourist island, and it's got bars and clubs everywhere. So when I was 13, my brother was working as a bartender. He was like, do you want to come down to the bar and help me with the glasses? But there was a laptop there and I could put music on YouTube. And then a couple of weeks later, the bar owner was like, don't worry about the glasses, just play music. And then bought me some decks. And then since I was 13, I became a DJ, whether I liked it or not.
Wow.
But turns out I loved it. Went to music school as well. And yeah, met Dan in 2009.
Like music's always been in our families as well. Like Nikos's dad was very musical. My mum was a music teacher, so music has always been around us, I guess, subliminally from the minute we were born.
Yeah.
But yeah, to get that into a career took us a few more years.
Well, thank God it finally did for you guys. Now, do you remember the first time you guys actually met?
We do, yes. Yeah.
This doesn't sound like a positive story.
No, it was through mutual friends.
I'm trying to think of the bits we can talk about of the story.
Right.
No, it was through mutual friends of ours, good friends of ours who we're still friends with now, from the UK. They were doing management of nightclubs over in the UK. They then come out to Greece where Nikos was already working. They got involved in a club here. They then brought me out from the UK, and then we worked together back in 2011. Although we did meet the year before very briefly. Yeah, 2011 was the time that we kind of really met each other and got to know each other.
And that's when I started going back and forth from Greece to the UK, winter, summer, and that's when we pretty much started forming the brand.
Was Switch Disco the first name you guys were going to go with?
So the actual name was set up. There was someone else before involved, and we kind of had a very loose forming of the brand back then. So we kind of came up with the name, and this is going back 15, 16 years now.
Yeah.
And then Nikos then came on board as a third member. The other member who was involved then got involved more in events rather than DJing. And when he went in that direction, which is 10 years ago, that's when we then decided, right, we need to do more here. Like we need to do more than it just be a name to edits we're doing. We need to put a face to our brand.
We decided to keep the name because Switch was... our editors were switching the original to a remix or a different drop or an a cappella or an instrumental, things like that. So Switch was perfect, and then disco just sounded nice.
It just sounded nice.
Everyone asks who's Switch, who's disco.
I've got my own answer for that, but
neither of us. Oh, yeah.
Now, as we were talking about, you guys started by doing mashups and remixes. Do you remember the first song that you guys produced?
I remember the first mashup I did.
No, I don't.
But this was years ago.
Is it that garage one?
Yeah. So there's a quite a big scene years ago called UK Garage back in the UK.
Absolutely.
So when I first started DJing, I only played UK Garage. It was all on vinyl. I didn't want to play anything else. Like that's all I wanted to do. And I started. I found an a cappella on a vinyl, and I was like, I'd love to use this and put some different instrumentals behind it. So that was the first mashup I ever produced. That ended up being played by like every big UK garage DJ in the country. EZ, I gave it to EZ first of all. I'm not sure if you know EZ from the UK, but huge DJ over there, and my idol still. So yeah, like, I gave my stuff to him, and he was playing it on like national radio stations over in the UK, and then other DJs kind of followed what he was doing, and yeah, that was my first ever edit that I made.
Whereas I grew up in a more underground house scene back then with Defected, Africanism, some Afro house, and it was very underground. And I started producing and making 10-minute extended deep house tracks with like. For like 10 minutes, which was cool. I mean, 12, 13 years ago, it was really cool. Not anymore. The shorter the better now, they say. But since we got together and we started like playing out in clubs and stuff, our edits became more condensed and more elements in them. And
we started off well, not started off, but a lot of our edits would just be, like Nikos said, like quick hitters, like shorter edits, like straight to the point, like no breakdowns, quick intros, that kind of stuff.
Straight to the hook sometimes.
Straight to the, hooks in, just to kind of intensify our DJ set. So, and we still do that now. Like, we're still doing that kind of edit as well as all the mashups as well.
You guys were making DJ tools before DJ tools was actually a thing.
I'll tell you, there's actually a DJ who we refer to all the time. There's a guy called Conflict who I actually met out in Vegas 10 years ago. And I saw him play at the Bellagio. And I listened to the way he was playing, and he was a resident DJ. Like, he was playing all commercial music. And I recognized everything he was playing, and I also knew the structure of the songs he was playing. I was like, well, he's done something there. Like, this goes straight to the point. And I came back from that trip to Vegas and totally reinvented the way that I DJ completely. Like, I was like, I need to be like this guy. Like, he was just on another level. And we actually met him. We met him in Miami this year, and we went back, and he's kind of followed us since we kind of got together. And it's quite a strange circle because he's been very influential in both of our DJ sets and our careers, really.
There's actually a lot of American DJs and DJ pools that they do it right out there. Yeah. And we've always looked up to the American scene and the DJ edits and the competitions out there. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, it's so crazy how music has changed, because I started doing a dance underground show about the time when you could get away with like 8-minute Tiesto songs at the time. Now, that's not even a thing anymore. But even the UK Garage, so I'm in Florida, and we've got Florida Breakbeat, which was kind of like UK Garage, except it wasn't as fast as Garage was, more broken than Breakbeat was. But I love stuff from like Craig David, and even Daniel Bedingfield did stuff early on that was like that.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Bedingfield, his big hit was released on the label that we are now signed to.
Yeah. No crap.
Yeah.
Wow, got to get through this such history.
Yeah. Funnily enough, Relentless played a big part into the garage scene back in the UK, and for Dan to have started buying vinyls from that label back then, and now releasing his own tune on the same label is quite surreal. You did that Instagram post.
Yeah. So when React went silver in the UK, like I've got the plaque that we were sent, like next to a load of record sleeves that I went into a local record shop and bought years and years and years ago. And I've written the BPMs in the top right-hand corner, and I've got all of these record sleeves on the same label that we then released on. And yeah, it's quite surreal.
That is absolutely incredible. Full circle there. Well, finally, in Finky's First, in honor of React going #1, of course, it samples Robert Miles' Children. Do you remember the first dance song that made you guys fall in love with EDM?
Wow, great question. Great question. I mean, I remember the first job that I ever had. I was working in like a local shop. I was about 14 years old, and with my first paycheck, I bought Clubber's Guide to Ibiza, which was a Ministry of Sound compilation album. And again, I remember Cafe Del Mar, Energy 52 was on that. That's a good one. Was on that.
Classic.
Album. Yeah, and then from there, I used to all the Ministry of Sound albums. And again, I was kind of just fascinated of how these things went into each other. And back then, I didn't understand any of it. But one particular song, I mean, Robert Miles' Children, I had on CD. I remember listening to that on repeat, and it would have been around that era. So many, too many to mention. I couldn't say one.
I couldn't say one either. Yeah, like all of the big ones from back then, like Fragma, Talker's Miracle, Cafe Del Mar, all of those, like Insomnia, like all of those big tunes that York on the Beach. York on the Beach, that's a good one. Yeah, all of these records pretty much shaped dance music and influenced DJs and records now.
Absolutely, and it was
It's clear, right?
But to answer your question, yeah, I don't think there's one in particular. I don't think there is.
It was such an amazing time of music back then. Like you had, Wink, Higher State of Consciousness. That was that was one of those that made me fall. I don't know if you guys have heard of Lustrel Every Time. That was a
I've got that on vinyl.
Man, it was such a good time. But let's talk about this amazing smash, React. Of course, like I mentioned, Children is one of my favorite songs of all time. In fact, it's my ringtone, the original Robert Miles song. How did you guys decide to take on this classic?
So we actually did. Obviously, it's such an iconic instrumental, and with the content we put out and the mashups we put out, we're always looking to use iconic elements of vocals or instrumentals. So we did a few with Robert Miles. We did one with Nelly Furtado, Say It Right. We did one with Sigala, Lullaby. Both went viral, and then our label, Jamie, who's the head of A&R at Relentless, who has some amazing ideas, came to us and said, why don't we remake Robert Miles' Children? And we both said, nope, no chance.
There's no chance we're touching that. It's such an iconic track.
Yeah.
We're not doing it. And then the label and Jamie said, trust us, we're not going to put it out if it's not really good. And we went into the studio, made the first version of it, played around for a couple of months with it, and then sent it to Ella, sent it to their team, and they came back with this amazing top line.
Yeah, like we said to Jamie, we were like, it's such an iconic instrumental that the vocal has to match it equally, otherwise this just can't happen. And we were actually in Zante, in Nikos's car, not far from the club we're in now. And we heard Ella's first version. There's a video of that online somewhere. And literally the first play that we went through, we were like, she's nailed it. Like she's absolutely nailed it.
And we didn't end up changing much.
No, God. I think we added a slight second verse, middle eight. But apart from that, the first version we heard is the one that ended up being released. But it was a risk. It was a huge risk, right? Like for so many people, we thought we were going to get a lot bigger backlash than we did from purists, which we completely would understand.
Some people, like very few, but some people were like, you shouldn't be touching this. Or some people were very nice and said, you shouldn't be doing this, but at least it's done all right. Like it doesn't sound bad. So
I think because it was done so well by Ella and Megan, who wrote the lyrics, it was done so well that when people heard it, they went, you know what? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that you guys actually mentioned that. As a programmer and as a dance music lover, I get very nervous when a song comes by that, somebody tried touching a classic. You get very nervous that it's not going to be good. But the first time that I heard it from Ultra, when Phil sent it to me, I was like, wow, this is really good.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
How long ago did you guys work on it?
I think we made the first version of instrumental before last summer.
So it would have been it would have been like maybe May 22.
May 22.
Wow.
And then Ella's version we got in August 22.
And then we released January 23.
So it was pretty fast once you guys started going through it.
We had a few back and forths with different writers, the top liners and things like that. But it was pretty straightforward. Like when we heard Ella's version, we were like, well, this is it.
Yeah, she always kills it. Now, something that I love to find out is how many different versions there are of a song from when you start working on it, all the tweaking to it to when you finally put it out. I know you mentioned that there weren't too many versions once you got Ella's vocals, but in the production side of it, do you remember what V it was?
V22, I think I've got on my laptop. Or V22, but it might have been one syllable or an S, or can we please have like this S bridging into the chorus or something silly? But Ella and her team are very, very good at what they do, so there was some notes from them as well. And then mixing and mastering, there was a few versions there, but all pretty standard, I think, when it comes to
it probably got to about V4 and it was pretty much done. But then it was just little intricacies after that we're really particular. Our label is obviously Ella's team as well.
We ended up moving the pre-chorus after the verse.
It was a lot of structural changes.
Yeah, it was like we ended up moving that part into the middle of the song and then creating a middle late, and then. But to be honest, the song was pretty much there. It was just like piecing it together.
That's so incredible. Now, obviously, rest in peace, Robert Miles. But when you guys are touching classics like this and making mashups, do you think about what the original artist is going to think about it, or do you not even worry about it?
No, of course.
We
like,
really do.
Let's be honest. Like the genius of Robert's instrumental. Like unless he made that happen, obviously this would never happen. It's firmly based on that. So yeah, of course. We were very conscious of how his team would receive it. Luckily, we got a personal message from I think it was his dad.
His dad commented on one of our Facebook posts saying he liked the track.
Oh, wow.
Which was a real win emotionally, because
for sure.
You know, you see that and you're like, oh, we must be doing something right here.
Yeah, it's very much at the forefront of our mind. Like these people have I mean, we've sampled their genius. That's what we've done. And the fact that it seems, the fact that their team were like, yeah, it's okay to do, and that comment from his family meant the most to us, because we were like, okay, we've done all right here. Like it's approved by the people that actually matter.
We feel the same sometimes when we put out a mashup on TikTok or Reels, and then one of the original artists comment and says, oh, this is sick, or this is amazing. You're like, yes, I've got the approval. I didn't ruin the song. Yes.
We put out Calvin Harris versus Swedish House Mafia mashup the other week, and both, I think Axwell and Sebastian both commented on it and were like, yeah, sick. And we're like, okay, cool. Steve and Calvin to say it's cool, and then we've got a full squad. Yeah.
Now you're just dropping names. Now you're just showing off. Now, did you guys use the original Children for the sample, or did you guys reproduce it?
It was replayed, yeah.
Really? Wow. I mean, it sounds absolutely amazing. So congratulations on your #1 with React. What is next for Switch Disco?
Funny you should say that. We had a follow-up pretty much ready to go. It didn't happen, unfortunately, but this is life. But we've been working with some incredible writers, producers, vocalists over the last few weeks. When we've been flying back to the UK in between shows, we've been lucky enough to be in sessions with some hugely talented people. And we're working on 25 demos at the minute. All of which we think could be something. There's lots going on. We're working on lots at the minute. We're just trying to decide which is the best way to go. But yeah, we've got lots to come for sure.
Well, let's hope it's not another 10 years before another release. Dan, Nikos, Switch Disco, thank you so much for your time with us on America's Dance 30. It's great finally meeting you guys.
Thank you so much for having us, and hopefully we'll be out there soon. There's a lot of people who want us to come out there. Hopefully we'll be out there for some shows very soon.